You know, in medicine, we think of a cure as, well, the end of the story, right? The end of the fight. But what if the cure itself was the start of a brand new war inside the patient's own body? Today, we're going to dive into a medical paradox that just flips our whole idea of healing on its head.
Okay, so picture this. A patient gets a life-saving transplant. Everyone's hopeful, they should be on the road to recovery. But then, a rash starts to appear. They feel sick, nauseous, really bad stomach pain. Now, your first thought, my first thought, everyone's first thought is rejection, right? The patient's body is attacking the new organ. But what if that's not what's happening at all? What if the obvious answer is completely wrong?
Well, here's the twist, and it is a wild one. The attacker? It isn't the patient's body. No, it's the transplant itself. The brand new donated tissue, that's what's on the attack. The very thing that was supposed to save them is now launching a full-on assault from the inside.
So there's a name for this, of course. It's called graft versus host disease, or GvHD for short. And the name tells you everything. The graft, that's the donated organ or tissue, is fighting the host, the patient. It's literally the donation fighting the person it's meant to save. Just try to imagine it. You have these immune cells from the donor that hitched a ride with a transplant. They wake up, so to speak, in this new body, and they have no idea what's going on. They look around and see the patient's skin, their liver, their gut, and they think, hey, this isn't home. This is all foreign. And so they do what immune cells are programmed to do. They attack.
This is a total 180-degree flip of what we normally think about with transplants. Usually the big worry is graft rejection, right? That's when the patient's body, the host, attacks the new organ, the graft. Host versus graft. Simple. But GvHD, it's the exact opposite. It's the graft attacking the host. It's like a case of reverse rejection. The entire battlefield just got turned inside out. Okay, so this has got to make you wonder, right? Why doesn't this happen with every single transplant? I mean, what's so special about, say, a bone marrow transplant that makes it so different from getting a new kidney? Why is the risk so much higher?
Well, it all comes down to the number of, let's call them, passenger immune cells that are hitching a ride. Think about it. Bone marrow is literally an immune system factory. It's where these cells are made. So a bone marrow transplant isn't just a transplant of marrow. You're basically transplanting a huge chunk of the donor's immune system. A whole army of their lymphoid cells comes along for the ride. And that's why GvHD is so common with them. Now, the liver also happens to have a lot of immune tissue packed in there, so it can happen with liver transplants too. But other organs, like a heart or a kidney, they just don't carry that same kind of immune firepower, so the risk is way, way lower.
And I really want to be clear about something here. This is not just some minor side effect. We're not talking about a small complication. GvHD is a huge deal. It's a major reason that transplant patients get seriously ill. That's what doctors call morbidity. And it's a significant cause of death or mortality. This is a truly life-threatening condition. And the craziest part is that it's all kicked off by the very cells that were supposed to be the cure.
So the big question is, how on earth do doctors fight this? Well, they have a kind of a two-pronged strategy. The first step is all about prevention. Before the transplant even happens, they try to, well, disarm the donated marrow. They work to remove as many of those aggressive donor immune cells as they possibly can. But if GvHD still flares up after the transplant, they switch to step 2, treatment. And that means bringing out the heavy hitters, really powerful immunosuppressant drugs to try and calm the whole system down and call off the attack.
And that brings us right back to the central paradox, doesn't it? A procedure designed to save a life carries within it the seeds of a whole new war. It really leaves you with this incredibly tough question that doctors and patients grapple with every single day. How do you weigh the promise of a cure against the very real risk that the cure itself could turn on you? It's just a powerful reminder of how unbelievably complex and, honestly, how fragile the fight for life can be.